Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Arlene Diamco, the multidimensional MD. Thank you so much for watching. I would like to say thank you for almost 400 subscribers. So if you are the next subscriber, I will hit 400, and I'm really thankful for that. And I'm so glad to be able to help spread these messages of uplift and inspiration because my mission is to help bring the intuitive aspects of health back to medicine in practical and tangible ways so that you can access deeper healing and joy and peace and love and connection in your everyday lives. So last week, I talked about the dark night of the soul, which people have been going through collectively and individually. And I heard so much from many of you and the difficulty of moving through it. And one interesting thing is that as people start to have more clarity, I'm noticing that sometimes it can bring up some panic because you may not like what you see. And this is what I've talked about before with the pandemic, lifting the rug, so to speak, and then you can see what's underneath there. And then you have to decide what to do about it. And so I'm seeing people in various states of panic. And so I wanted to talk about what you can do about that and ways to move through it. So I'm going to go through one, just some simple physiology behind various panic states, including panic attacks. Two, what a panic attack feels like. Three, how to tell the difference between a panic attack and intuition. Four, ways to move through the panic. And five, at the end, I'm going to do an EFT tapping experiential so you can follow along with me and see how you feel with that. So, the first thing is going through the physiology behind panic. So, I talk a lot about the stress and trauma response, and we have that sympathetic response, which is the fight or flight response, and the parasympathetic response, which is the rest and digest response. But if too much, can become a frozen response. So, in terms of that fight, flight, or freeze, it actually can be a combination. So, most times when people think of a panic attack, they think of that shutdown freeze state. And it's like you're immobilized with fear. So, according to the Mayo Clinic, a panic attack is a sudden episode of intense fear that triggers severe physical reactions when there is no real danger or apparent cause. I would like to clarify that because it says no apparent real danger or apparent cause, because there can be a reason even if you don't know what it is. And there is a reason, even if it's not readily apparent, because those reasons will be subconscious stress or trauma patterns. So, things that you have built up in your lifetime, things that have been created, especially during that young childhood stage, 0 to age 6, because that's when our limbic system really organizes. And the limbic system is that part of the brain that is involved with emotional and behavioral responses in the subconscious way. So before it reaches like higher consciousness. So it can be from that. It can be from generational trauma. So things that have imprinted on your DNA and been passed down through generations. It can be from birth issues. So the way you came into the world. And there were studies before of like of people who had gone through difficult births. And so if they had like some sort of asphyxiation during birth, they were more likely to die from that and later on in life as in adulthood. So that's really interesting. So things even imprinted early on before as we're being born into the world. And I've had people tell me that they feel like they were born with a heavy heart, and they've never really known a time where they didn't feel like that. So there is a reason, even if you don't know what it is. So even though that's the definition, that there's no apparent reason, there are reasons. So just to have some comfort in the knowledge that there are reasons for this and there's ways that we can move through it. There are other kinds of panic attack or panic states that don't just have to do with the freeze response. I have seen people go through a panic state that is much more in the fight response. And this is when they're still panicking, they still feel stuck, they are not sure what to do. And they're doing things that are really aggressive, like throwing things, throwing furniture, punching holes in the wall. I have patients that have done that, and guess what? Can do so much better. They can do a complete 180, and we can help rebalance that nervous system and return to a more grounded state of mind as well. So there is hope. So even if you feel like that, or you have a loved one that is going through those things, then there are ways to help through that. And I'll go through some basics, and then in a moment. Another panic state is when, so you have that fight. We went through the freeze response, we went through the fight response, but you can have a flight response. And I see this really commonly in parents when they feel like something bad is going to happen to their kids. And sometimes that flight response can look really busy. So the fight and flight has a bit more activity to it than the freeze response. The freeze, you're more immobilized. Fight or flight can have more action to it. And so you're either fighting or or fleeing, running. So the busyness of a flight response can look like running around and doing so many things to prevent this unknown bad thing that might possibly happen, but you have no idea if it will. So it's sort of a panic state with this created fear of the unknown and very busy trying to prevent it. So, three different panic states: a freeze, which is the typical panic state of panic attacks, and then there's a fight panic state, and there's a flight panic state. Now, a panic attack is when you can feel like there's just like this sudden doom and gloom feeling. It comes out of nowhere, seemingly, and your heart can be racing. You can feel like you're sweating. Your mouth can go dry. You can feel like you're dying, or you can feel like this crushing weight and pain. Your chest can feel constricted. Now, if you just have one panic attack, then that's one thing. But if you have recurrent panic attacks, then they call that panic disorder. So these are just names in psychology and psychiatry. So don't necessarily tie yourself to one or the other. But if it is recurrent, then it's something to know that you to get some help with. So next, how do you tell the difference between a panic attack and intuition? So this is really interesting. Now, it's much easier to be able to have access to your intuition if you feel grounded. And I did a whole article in the Venture Inward magazine, which is Edgar Cayce Association for Research Enlightenment membership magazine. But I did want to share with you a little snippet because this is the article I wrote. It's 5 pages, and it's actually an excerpt from my book that's coming out, and it's all on grounding. What does it mean? Why is it important? And so they did a bigger quote here. I'll show you, and it says, "What the world needs each of us to do now is to stay grounded and unveil the light in our hearts, so that we can emanate and respond with the healing power of love." So we it is difficult to access your intuition if you don't feel grounded. And when you feel grounded, you're more present in your body. Your energy is in your body versus like numbing out and dissociating. So that is that freeze panic attack state where you're dissociating, so you really don't feel in touch with your senses. And so this moves us into ways to move through panic. So in terms of how to tell the difference between panic attack and intuition, if you do not feel in touch with your senses, then you're panicking, and it's not necessarily your intuition. So first step is to get grounded, or to take steps towards grounding, and then listen. And we're going to go through this in a bit more detail. So ways to move through panic. So first is to ground into your body by noticing your senses. So just call them out. You can name a few things for each sense. So, what do I see? I see the light in the room. I see the color blue on the wall. I see the out the window. I see the trees and the pond out there. What do I smell? I can smell the air or the tea that's brewing. I can smell the aroma of breakfast, whatever it is, or maybe just the fresh air outside. What do you hear? So I can hear the air conditioning or heater going. I can hear myself talking. I can hear the wind blowing through the trees. What do you feel? So I can feel my feet on the ground and the way I'm sitting on the chair and the fabric of my clothes and whether I feel like warm or cold or just right. And then um and then are you breathing? So slowing your breath and keeping your breath moving. And I think about like the kids when they panic about doing homework or having a project to turn in. What you can do are some simple cross lateral movements. So anything that crosses the midline. So one is just a simple butterfly hug. So hug yourself and you can move your hands like this, like a butterfly movement. And this was created by Lucina Artigas, who was an EMDR therapist working with survivors from a hurricane in Mexico in 1998. So, this simple movement helps to integrate right and left sides of your brain. And when right and left sides of your brain are not integrated, then it's like a short circuit. So, these are the panic loops going through. So, a simple way to help integrate them is just doing this. Do it for a couple minutes, and it can help with cognition, it can help with focus and coordination and calming. And then, of course, we always talk about like calling out how you feel. So, whatever you feel is fine. It is a normal human emotion. You are responding to what is going on to you, and that's okay. So it's us resisting ourselves of feeling like I shouldn't be panicking or I don't like the way I feel. You don't have to like it, but you have to acknowledge it. You have to accept yourself no matter what. And we're going to go through that with the EFT um, example in just a moment. So, to tell yourself that this is a normal human emotion, even if it doesn't feel good, and then expand your perspective. So, when you're in this fight, flight, or freeze state, it's again this short circuit. So, you're really like highly aware of whatever the perceived threat is, and you can't really see the bigger picture. So, expand your perspective in your peripheral vision literally will help to expand your mind as well. And then as you expand your mind, you can see yourself in the community, you see yourself, expanded, seeing the whole earth and the universe. So knowing that I don't know why this is happening to me, but there is some reason for it. I don't know what that is, but I am loved and supported no matter what. So when you're panicking, often you feel alone. So as you expand your perspective and see that you're not alone, that you're actually part of this fabric of the universe, can be helpful. And just start to move your body. So if I feel nervous about something or worried about things, then I will do like a quick 10-minute yoga breathing movement exercise. I'll follow something on YouTube or just do it on my own. And that really helps so much to integrate my body, so my physical movements, and my mind and my spirit, and just keep moving through whatever you're feeling. There are also some homeopathic remedies and flower essences that can be really helpful. So, a homeopathic remedy I commonly use for panic attacks, so that more that flight, fear, and flight state is called aconite. And I use that in a 30C or 200C, typically potency. If you need help with that, please get help with somebody that knows homeopathy. You can come see me too. But I won't have people take it too often, but it's sort of like a natural remedy that can be used when you're feeling like really in this heightened panic state and things are like looping, then it can really bring that intensity down. And I have many flower essences. I love to make the custom blends, and that can be also really grounding and help to remove some static, looping thoughts in the field. So, last, I wanted to do this EFT tapping exercise for you. And if you aren't familiar with EFT tapping, it works on meridian points in the body, so acupuncture meridian points. And when you tap them, it helps to open up those channels. And when we tap them while saying certain things or bringing our awareness to certain thoughts, then it helps to smooth out our response to those thoughts. And so instead of like looping and panicking to those thoughts, it's like we are bringing it up. It's like a wave. You're bringing it up and you're looking right at that intensity very gently. You don't have to hit it right on the head. Just depends on what you can do. And then it comes back down, because that is the natural state of a stress response. Is the stress response comes up, and then we have this reflexive relaxation resetting response, and it goes back down. What happens with a panic state is people get stuck in the height of it, and so they feel like they can't get out of it. So this EFT tapping is a way that you can do that. So you can tap with me, and this is the karate chop point. So we'll say this setup phrase and just follow along with me, even if you don't know EFT tapping. So say, even though I feel panic, I totally love and deeply accept myself. Even if I don't know what to do, I totally love and deeply accept myself. Even if I'm afraid of what will happen, I totally love and deeply accept myself. So take a couple fingers and lightly tap inside the eyebrows. I don't know what to do. Outside the eyes, I'm afraid. Under the eyes, I'm starting to panic, or I am panicking. Under the nose, my heart is racing. Under the mouth, I have butterflies in my stomach. We're just calling out how you might feel. You can change the words to suit you. Start of the collarbones. It all feels like so much. Under the arms, right at the nipple line or the bra strap line. It all feels so overwhelming. Top of the head, all of this panic that I feel. Inside the eyes, I can get help. Outside the eyes, and allow myself to receive help. Under the eyes, from my friends or other loved ones, or from health professionals. Under the nose, from my guides, my angels, and light beings, or whoever you feel comfortable asking for help. Under the mouth, from the universe. Collarbones, because the universe is constantly loving me. Under the arms, and constantly supporting me. Top of the head, and constantly encouraging me. Whether or not I can feel it, but I'm open to feeling it. Inside the eyes, inside the eyebrows, I can breathe more deeply. Outside the eyes, I can breathe in spirit. Under the eyes, and exhale what no longer serves me. Under the nose, I can breathe in love. Under the mouth, and exhale any tension. Start of the collarbones. I acknowledge that any emotions that I feel are normal human emotions. Under the arm, and that I am a human being. Top of the head, made of light and love. So I choose to let myself be. And take a nice big breath So after you've done that, then maybe you feel just a little lighter or more ease to your breath, more ease to your mind. Perhaps intensity has lowered. Maybe you feel the same but aren't sure, or maybe it's brought up other things. That's okay too. So, but after we've done this exercise, then think of what is one thing that you can do now. You can breathe, you can rest, you can just get up and move your body. What is one thing you can do for yourself? And then what is one thing that you can do to help yourself and other people? So it's much easier to think about that next step after you've had the opportunity to breathe and ground yourself a bit more. So would love to hear from you if that was helpful at all. If you have any other questions about it, uh, where you might get stuck and where I can help you move through that. And it's just in how we share with each other that it can be really helpful to support each other and know that even if you are in a panic state, that you can feel alone, like in the dark night of the soul, but you are not alone at the same time. So thank you so much for joining me, everyone that joined live or anyone that is watching the recording. I so appreciate you and hope this helps you in some way. I believe in you and I hope you believe in you too. If you would like to connect with me, you can on Instagram at All Worlds Health, on Facebook, All Worlds Health and Pediatrics. And you can also sign up for my e-love letters. I send them out once a week on Wednesdays at allworlds with an S, health.com. Oh, and one last announcement. I'm going to have a special 11, 12, 22 meditation this Saturday at noon Eastern time. It will be for 22 minutes. It is free with a suggested donation if you feel comfortable, about $20 to All Worlds Foundation. Or if you can't do it, that's okay too. I would love to see you there. We're going to have it on Zoom. And I will, if just, let me know on Instagram. You can message me and I'll send you the link if you'd like to join. So lots of love to all of you. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. I so appreciate your support. And I am here for you, whether by seeing me on YouTube or on other platforms, or if you'd like to make an appointment with me in my practice, I would love to see you one-on-one as well. So lots of love to all of you. Have a beautiful rest of your week, and I'll see you next time, 11 a.m. Eastern time on Wednesday.